Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. My name is Marlene. On this channel I like to talk about spirituality, esoteric, and astrology. For this video I want to explain you about the densities from the material of Ra and with the explanation of a YouTuber named Lorena. So without further ado, let's get started. So what are densities or stages of consciousness? Ra explains that there exists 7 densities. So just like our Earth, it's evolving. Like we have a physical manifestation of the evolution of like planet Earth. We have the metaphysical evolution of like planet Earth, right? But it's more about the metaphysical of it, okay? So here I'm going to explain how our Earth is evolving or has been evolving using the analogy of the chakras, our energetic centers in our body, because just like the universe has its own densities, we as humans, we also have our densities. So Ra refers to these 3 words, universe, consciousness, and density, differently. So I'm going to explain a little bit of what they mean according to the book, right? So a universe is where energy becomes intelligent energy and becomes a co-creator with the universe. It's a way that Source or God uses as a way to experience himself, okay? And everything is universe. We are our own universe. The plants are their own universe. Everything, there's universe after universes, galaxies. So just like everything is in the whole like bigger picture, everything is in the smaller like picture, okay? And then the second word will be consciousness, which is the capacity for wisdom. Like how much wisdom can you like handle? And consciousness is different from like your soul, your spirit, okay? It's more of like you're aware of what's going on in the universe. Like you understand like why you're here, what your purpose is. It's basically your capacity of understanding metaphysics. Since we are in a lower density right now, that's why a lot of people don't know what their purpose is, don't know what they're doing here. It's because they're unconscious of that. So when we go to higher densities, that's when we become like conscious of what we're doing here, you know, like we're more than just like humans, okay? This is like your ability to how much you can harbor wisdom, okay, or harbor consciousness. And density is more like a stage, okay, or you can see it as a staircase where each like stage or density, it's like a different level of consciousness, okay? The lower the density, the lower the vibration of that density, and the higher is like the higher the consciousness of that density. So it's the same way as in like music. Like you hear the frequencies of a lower sound and they're more like ding ding, you know. It's like it's not as intense as when you heard like a higher frequency or vibration. Is like beep, like faster, you know. So it's the same way. So since I'm using the analogy of the chakras, the lower the densities or the chakras is like the different ways of it's like the capacity of those energetic centers that they can hold just wisdom. And the lower the density, the less light that can enter that density, okay? The 7th density will be something like God, okay? Like the singularity, like union with God. We have just moved on to the 4th density, but we all have lived in the previous densities, okay? So the first density will be your root chakra. It's associated with the color red. And on this density, you have a body that is atomic. It's very like molecular in a molecular level, okay? And the lesson that you learn from this density is to be, okay? You're just learning how to be, let's say, fire, water. What's the other one? Air, earth. Okay, so in this density, everything is like the 4 basic elements, okay? Just like earth, it started like a rock and with fire, and they were just being, you know, like the air was just being the wind, like just blowing, like doing whatever the air does, okay? It has like its own way of consciousness, okay? So some people, when they're doing life past regressions, and there's some ones that are documented, they say that they were like a rock living under the ocean or something like that. Like they remember being like air. That's why like it's very important when you're working like with energy that you understand the different like consciousness of these elements, because like let's say you want to work with the energy of the water, like you understand water because it has like its own consciousness, like you understand with how it moves and like everything that it represents, like it cleanses you and things like that. So it's just very like basic ways of consciousness of that density, okay? So second density, which will be the sacral chakra, is associated with the orange color, okay? This is your second chakra, and this density, our bodies, or the bodies, are chemical, and the lesson on this density is of growth, okay? This is where we start seeing plants, animals, bacteria, okay? Just like again the earth started to have plants and animals, everything was like biology, you know, like everything had a life now. One point that I want to make here is that these densities, the top density will always try to pull the lower density up, okay? So this one will do this one, this one, this one. So in this one, let's just say a rock excuse me, let's just say a rock just wanted to be a rock, wanted to be more than a rock, then that's when it started to want to move to the second density, right? So now it wanted to be like a tree, you know, something that actually moved and have more than just, you know, like being a rock. Evolution process of this density is from 1 to 200 years. That's how much the cycle of life for each density is, and the density here can last up to like 2 billion. Oh, the duration of this density is of 2 billion years, okay? So we all had lives of being a plant, okay, or an animal, okay? So we have a lot of reincarnations on this density. When this density is trying to move up to the third density, that's when we start seeing more individuality on things like the plants or the animals. Like for example, on the internet, you've seen a lot of videos, I've seen a lot of videos where like animals, like a dog or a cat, they literally act like they were human, like they understand us so much. Like some of them can even like pronounce words and can make like complete sentences. Like they seem like they have kind of like their own personality, you know, like their own individuality. Like they don't want to be part of just being a dog, like they want to be like, you know, if their name is Daisy, they want to be Daisy. Like no, it's Daisy, it's not a dog, it's like almost like a person, you know. Okay, so the third density, which will be your solar plexus, the chakra of the solar plexus. It's associated with the color yellow, and on this density you have a chemical body, so it's pretty much like us, how we look right now. And on this density you come here to learn or to make a choice, if you're like your free will to decide if you're gonna be positive or become negative, okay? And this density is the one that's like the shortest, but is like the most intense, okay? This is where we have the veil of oblivion, where we forget that we have a divine connection with source, with God, that we have a connection with plants, with animals, pretty much that we all are one. So this is the only density where we have our ego, okay? This is where, when it first started, like when humans first started living on Earth, that's why everything was like chaos, like why everything was just craziness, because we were barely coming out of the second density, and we didn't have much of that fourth density, which pulls us more to love, to community, and I will go into more detail in the next one. And this density, since nobody knows like what's going on, that's why there's like so much chaos, you know, because you forget that you have a connection with source. There's a lot of cataclysms in this density, which means there's a lot of opportunities for the soul to learn, to gain wisdom, to grow spiritually. And these are all tests for you to like ascend faster onto the next density. Again, it's like where the cataclysms are like short-lived because they're like very intense. Kind of like you just enter and exit that like cataclysm. And here, most of the cataclysms that we see have to do with our ego, with our psychological way of, like, it's kind of like a battle between our ego, like letting it, like helping us or destroying us, you know. It's like an internal battle. This density exists because, again, the creator was trying to experience we have the choice, to the free will, you know, to decide if we want to become positive or if we want to become negative, okay? This is where you choose if you're gonna go with the ego and just do what the ego says, live in fear. Everything is like very narcissistic, you know, you just do everything for you, what's most convenient for you, like you're just trying to protect yourself, kind of like living in survival mode. Whereas the other side, which will be the positive, is like helping the others, putting the others, you know, like to help them first, and everything is more of like collective. The cycle of life on this density, which is like our human life, is expectancy of like 75 to 100 years. And this density, like when you reincarnate, it's every 75,000 years, okay? So it's smaller than the others. And every 25,000 years, there is a harvest, meaning basically if you pass your soul mission on that harvest time, you get to move on to the next density. And if you don't, you get to like reincarnate again, like to try it again, you know, to go up. Okay, now the fourth density, which will be your heart chakra, is associated with the color green. I think most people know this one because of everybody likes love, you know. On this density, your body is of chemical and of light. So that's when I'll explain in a little bit, but in this density, what you came, or like the lesson to learn, is about love, okay? Unconditional love to yourself and unconditional love to others, okay? So when this fourth density started, it started in 2012, and I know there was a lot of like conspiracy theories talking like how the world was gonna end on this year or something like that, even like on 2020. But what basically meant was that we were moving on to the fourth density. But this planet still has like people from the third density, but we're like, the babies that are being born right now, they're already from the fourth density, okay? It's just that the process is gonna take like millions of years. It's like we're barely starting. That's why we are like in the galaxy, is like our Earth right now is like the star of the show, because we're barely moving on to the fourth density, and it's like people are barely starting to understand what it means to be in the fourth density, right? So the life cycle in the fourth density is of 90,000 years. So like when we finally get to the fourth density, we're gonna have lives of 90,000 years. And the density cycle of this density is of 30 million years. This density is where the veil of oblivion finally like wears off. Like where it begins little by little, right? But when we finally understand that we are like connected to source, and this is why we starting to see more people like channeling their higher self, becoming guides, like wanting to like having their spiritual awakenings. This is the density where our heart chakra opens, okay? This is where we like wake up from the sleep. This is where you remember God, when you remember everything, who you are, your mission. Also the density where we have some of encounters with higher intelligent forms, okay, like aliens. Like basically we don't see them, but they're here already, you know. It's like they're living already on the fourth density here, but it's just we don't get to see them yet. There are still people again with the third density, because like the planet is still doing that shift, you know, where like our ego is like slowly dying. We are like polarizing in the positive, okay? And as a collective, we're trying to polarize positive. Here, Ra also talks about the negative entities. So like the souls that decided to polarize negative, how they look at this density or the heart chakra as something that they don't want to learn, like something boring, like they don't care, like it's not interesting to them. So they go and skip onto the fifth density, and I will talk about it in a little bit. So that's why in the fourth density there's no negative entities, okay? This will be kind of like when you reach the fourth density, it's something like a heaven on earth, okay? This is like the metaphor of the Bible where it says like there's hell and there's heaven, like you create your own heaven on earth, right? And we're all trying to become a positive collective of consciousness, same way as Ra is on the sixth dimension. On this density too, this is where you start learning a little bit about telepathy, and you start probably encountering more about the subject of twin flames and how you can do telepathy with them and just stuff like that. That's later on, like it's gonna be more like normalized to talk about. Now the fifth dimension, which will be the throat chakra, is associated with the blue color, and on this density you have a body of light. So from here up, all the bodies are from light, which means you slowly let go of your like physical body. Okay, this is why when people die and they see the tunnel of light, they're experiencing that with their light body already, because they don't have a physical body, and they can like, that's why it feels like you're walking towards the tunnel of light, because you have a different body there. Okay, this density, you come here to learn about wisdom. Okay, or wisdom is light, like energy that's intelligent. Okay, so Ra doesn't explain how long this density lasts, because from this densities and up, there's like time, it's not a thing that really like matters, like it doesn't exist pretty much. It's like you become infinite, so it kind of like, you kind of take whatever time you need to become wise, right? Body of light, it's what our angels will be, the archangels. That's why they look like a flash of light, like when we like see them in dreams or in astral travels. We just see them as being of light because they're using their body of light. The fourth density energy is more of feminine, so it's more of like a community. The fifth dimension is a masculine energy, and it has to do more with being alone. Okay, being by yourself, because just like in the present, how you become wiser is like you spend a lot of time by yourself, like studying, right? So it's like to gain wisdom, you have to like spend a lot of time alone. Okay, density, you're also there to learn like your own value. Okay, but with wisdom. So what happens more in the fourth density is that people just want to give, right? Because you love helping people, you just want to become like, love everybody, and you just give and you just give, and you become like a martyr, I think it's called, where you just give in, right? And you give so much that it kind of becomes a problem with being codependent on others, if they're happy or not, like kind of like a people pleaser. So on this density, you learn of your self-worth, you know, like you're learning how much you can give without being like your own detriment, right? Like using wisdom, you know, like what can benefit both of us, or you, like, but without taking more than I can handle, things like that. It's like a balance. In the sixth density, which is associated with the third eye and the color purple, and this density, again, you have a body of light, and the lesson here is to be balanced. Okay, this is where you find the balance between your masculine and feminine energies, basically where you balance love and wisdom, like you give but you're also wise. Okay, so this cycle right here is about 75 million years, but it doesn't say like how long it takes you to like reincarnate again on this density, but part of the job of the souls from the sixth density is to act as guides to the lower densities. They act kind of like a guide to your previous reincarnation. They're pretty much the collective, like the positive collective that's, or like your higher self that's trying to guide you to unify with God, right? And just think about this density as like the voice of your consciousness, like this is right, this is wrong, or like, well, they don't tell you exactly what's wrong, but they try to guide you again to just imagine like this is your higher self with all that wisdom, all that love that has for you, that knows what's best for you, for your soul, for your purpose, for this reincarnation. and it's just trying to guide you to fulfill that. And since it's like a whole collective just trying to help you, of course they know what's like the best choice. So their job right there is just trying to help the lowers, because they're still trying to keep up with being positive, you know. In this density, they're still trying to be positive. Kind of like the same energy from this density pushes them to keep being positive. Like even if they try to be a little bit negative, it's like that same energy is gonna just push you and push you. Like there's no way of like becoming like negative, I guess. That's why the entities that decided to polarize negative, that went through the fifth, and they're trying to reach out to the sixth dimension. That's why they can't make it through the sixth dimension. It's kind of like as soon as they step into the sixth dimension, they just like fade away, because their soul is, they have like all this atrophy of their soul. They carry on so much negative energy that they can't ignore, because to be here is to be balanced, right? Feminine, positive, I mean positive and negative. So they can't ignore the positive side that exists. So it's like they can handle that, and they pretty much like return to the lower densities because they can't handle the higher ones. Negative entities is like a metaphor of a government or a company that's just kind of like corrupt, in the sense that when they try to grow, right, and they have a whole, like they run a whole country, right, but the whole country is starting to collapses because it requires so much energy to maintain that level of corruption that it literally just collapses, because there's just so much energy needed to, that you need to have like that whole corruption again. Okay, so on the seventh density, which will be your crown chakra, it's associated with the color white, I think. Yeah, I think it's white. Some people say it's gold, but I think it's white. But this density, you again have a body of light, and the whole purpose of that density is to be like with God. It's like a portal of union with God. Ra doesn't talk much about the seventh dimension, because he says it's like really hard to explain, especially because like us, we're barely trying to understand the fifth dimension. Like we get like insights from the fifth dimension, and we can barely understand infinity. So just imagine trying, for them, Ra, since they're on the sixth dimension, for them trying to explain the seventh dimension is like, it's kind of impossible. So he just says like, forget about it, like don't even worry about it. He says just to see the seventh dimension as being absorbed into God, into like eternity. And obviously it doesn't say how long this lasts. Once this density ends, I guess like everything starts again, like in a different universe with different laws, like with different densities. Like now, instead of being just 7 densities, now it's like 28 densities, and each have their own levels. And then once that density ends, there's more. And to sum it up, pretty much we are here to experience life, to experience ourselves. Source is trying to experience itself as us as humans, and that's why we need to experience life, you know, that we are here to learn about this process as well. Like we're here to experience like an experiment. Okay, so that's the end of my video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.